It's okay to laugh. It's okay to laugh. Hello, good hello, America. My news installment, I have a very, very special guest. You know the quote that friends are sometimes the family we choose? Well, in this situation, I get the best of both worlds, essentially. Me and this person I have today, we go way back. Back when I was back to my UNC Pembroke days again. I happen to be blessed with the presence of our younger brother, Mr. Milton Gore, who's also responsible for the logo and other things that's coming up on this personal platform and brand. But of course, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting her little brother, who is now somewhat to me a big sister to me. We had many great adventures together, very dynamic, of course. But today, the one and only Miss Lettie Elizabeth, she has many professional hats: historian, podcaster, educator, racial equity consultant slash savant. So today I present to you guys Miss Lettie Gore, aka Miss Lettie Elizabeth. How are you doing today?
I am doing well overall today. I'm a little anxious-ish about the storm, Debbie, that's taking her time getting here. But other than that, I'm doing great. I'm very happy to be here talking with you and all things.
Yeah, I know. I was telling you earlier, it's like every time I do an episode, it just wants to rain. And today we get Big Deborah to come into the way. I know it's already. I remember a couple years ago. It's kind of like it reminds me of what was it, Hurricane Florence. It was like her arrival, and then like Florence overstaying her welcome. And I feel like hopefully it definitely doesn't do the same thing because that was very very funky time period. I have crazy flashbacks thinking about that
Yes, it
now.
was.
So
Yes, it was.
yeah, but how's the weather up there currently? I know I'm in Fayetteville now, so I know we've been getting a lot of the rain the last like 2 going on 3 days now. Well, I'm not sure if it's from there.
Yeah,
I'm
I
close
mean
from here.
it's supposed to be raining later today, but it hasn't really rained like that here. I'm just like, all right, I'm ready for you to come and go. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know I've been getting a lot of alerts about like tornado warnings and all that. So that's the fun part of a hurricane. A tornado, because Lord knows. Fun, so
Yeah,
fun fact.
great.
I remember a couple of years ago when we had Florence, but so I know how they my ex was celebrating her friend's birthday. And I remember, like, it was to the point where because of Matthew, I had asked my friend, I asked my line brother who said that way, and I asked her family, like, hey, is it cool if I stay there with you guys? Because I'm not trying to get trapped in Wilmington because Matthew was already alive when it happened. I was like, I don't need any flashbacks of me being stuck in anyone's hurricane. So, of course, it's probably like, with Florence sitting there for like the whole weekend, it was like about a week. And it was to the point where I was like, like, hey, I love being around you guys, but I'm ready to go home. So of course, so before I go home,
Right.
she lived in Smithfield. So what I used to do, I would head to Fayetteville to check on my parents and my little brother, my family in Fayetteville, and I would drive to Wilmington. So that night, I didn't even make it to Fayetteville because I forgot it was a thing called curfew. So like an idiot, my phone didn't die, thank God. But of course, the high tide was rising that night, so they put the city on curfew. And of course, my GPS, it's just like, you can't go this way because the roads are blocked out. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, oh, shit. Like, what do I do? What do I do? Long story short, I ended up getting trapped out there to a point where I had to.
No.
I was stuck in Newton Grove. And I went to like a little like a shelter, and I was like, my dumb ass, why would I even do this? The internal conversations, and I was so bad at myself. So I had texted her, I was like, hey, I was just like, I didn't make it home because of curfew. So of course she was worrying, and I felt bad. My mom was like, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm fine. Knowing I'm lying, because my mom is the biggest worrier of them all. I mean, she loves to worry, and then when she worries, it gives me anxiety. So I'm like, it's fine. Long story short, I learned a valuable lesson during the hurricane. And the lesson I learned was to sit my behind down and stay stationary. So I have learned my lesson.
Yep, exactly. Yep,
So
exactly
so,
that.
definitely praying for the people out that way who are headed by the storm. It is hurricane season, so we know how this goes. But I guess we're diving into your love for history and your background, your educational background. So, like, where did you go to school at? How do we get in this lovely journey of Lady Elizabeth, the historian?
Yeah, so I actually hated history growing up. I did not like it. I liked social studies growing up. I liked social studies in middle school because you learned about a bunch of other cultures and everything. And I didn't like history in high school because I was like, why are we learning about these same few white men that are killing people in wars, and then you learn 2 seconds about slavery, and then you learn 2 seconds about civil rights. And so I was like, this cannot be all there is. And then I went to Brunswick Community College for a couple years, got my associate's degree there. But that is where I started liking history more because of a teacher that I had there. He was my teacher for American History 1 and 2. And he lectured the whole time, didn't have PowerPoints, didn't have a book, nothing, just from his brain. And I was like, this is amazing. And he always tied the stories in with a present day story to make it make more sense. So finished my associate's degree at BCC in 2008. Yeah, I graduated high school in 2006. I'm telling my age here, which is fine. I don't care. I'm blessed to still be here. So then I went to UNCW, got my bachelor's in history there, where I met a professor named Dr. Glenn Harris, who put me on the trajectory to becoming the historian that I am today. So I finished at UNCW in 2011, loved history so much. I got my master's in history. I finished that in 2015. I started in 2012 and I finished in 2015. It was not possible to finish that in 2 years. That master's degree was borderline a PhD program. And I realized it after I was done with the program. And they're like, oh yeah, we didn't have a PhD in history here. So we decided to make the program kind of like a master's PhD hybrid. Excuse me? So that is why I almost died. So that's great. I was like, okay. So that's why I was taking 3 seminar classes every semester, 3.5 hours, 3 nights a week. Just a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot of reading, it was a lot of research. I weigh master's degrees differently because of that master's program. Like, I'm sorry, and I'm not saying this to like throw shade at anybody, because I got a second master's in conflict management and resolution. I started that in 2018, and then I finished that in 2020. That one was substantially easier than my master's in history, but it still was like work. It's just writing a 10-page paper for that degree. I can write that. I mean, I was used to writing 30-page papers, right? So writing a 10-page paper, that's nothing. I can do that, my eyes closed. So yeah, I got my master's in history in 2015, master's in conflict management and resolution in 2020, and I did that one because a lot of people wanted to talk about racial issues and social issues, and I was like, but no one knows how to talk about them. So I learned a lot in that program about clearly how to resolve like disputes and stuff like that. So there was stuff when it came to learning how to like facilitate, learning how to effectively communicate, learning how to negotiate, that kind of stuff, sure. But it was also a lot that I had to learn about trauma and our nervous system and the body and how our body reacts in ways. Like, we'll think that we know how we're going to react in a certain situation, but we don't actually know. Your nervous system knows before your brain knows. Like, you are going to react how your body tells you to react, because that's how we're wired, right? So I essentially took what I learned, or like the work I do as a historian, and then I took what I learned with conflict resolution and I combined them, and I started working for myself in June of 2020, right after George Floyd was murdered. I had been praying, talking to God for like a long time. I could not get a job, though I was qualified for jobs. I was either overqualified or just wasn't getting the jobs. And so I knew that God was like, you've been wanting to work for yourself. You've been wanting to like teach history how you want to teach it. So now is your time. And so I was pushed that summer to work for myself. So I started doing things on social media. I took off on like Instagram. I mean, my follower count went through the roof overnight, it seems. And then I was teaching on Patreon, which is where people can essentially like subscribe to you and pay money, depending on which tier they like want to join. And I was doing a lot on there. I was giving history lessons, 3 live talks a month. I had a book club, which I still have. I just doing a lot. I was doing a lot of work. And so I figured out a way to get people to pay me for like what I do, but doing it in a non-traditional way. So I started my business, Lettie's History Education and Consulting Services, where I was also doing trainings and just workshops around town and virtually across the country and things like that. So yeah, I did that. Started my pop-up bookshop back in the fall last year, like September. That's called But Then You Read, which is named after a quote that James Baldwin said. And James Baldwin is my all-time favorite intellectual in all of history. And now I'm working at Cape Fear Community College as a full-time history professor, teaching 6 classes. Yeah, there's that.
There's that.
Just said a lot.
Oh no, you did. I mean, there's a lot of Oh no, we love it. We love a good journey. We love the good journey, and also the journey is only just getting better. We love it.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So I know with you playing such a major dynamic in one combining your skill set you learned over the years, and also with your superb knowledge of racial equity, that work. What has been like the most heated disagreement you ever been a part of, where you had to facilitate or moderate or
Oh yeah. Whenever I've done workshops with a room full of white people and I essentially call them out in a professional way about their complicity when it comes to whiteness. Not all people respond the same way. Some people are eager to want to learn and do the work, but I definitely have I'm thinking of one instance in particular. I did a workshop here for a nonprofit, and that's all I'll say. And a woman, a white woman, said basically, and I didn't say anything negative. I mean, this is probably, I think there are like 20 white people there, maybe like two black people were there, and everyone else was like fine. It's just this one white woman. She said that she just didn't understand why she was being treated as a bad white woman and all this stuff. And I just let her say whatever she had to say. And I was like, I never said any of that to you. Actually, I never said that. If those are what you're jumping to from what I said about the history regarding white privilege and white supremacy, that's a you thing. And I think that you should deal with that, right? Because I don't have anything to do with that. Because there's a room full of people here that don't feel that way. And she was not happy. During our break, she came up to me and said, well, I just have really good intentions. And I'm like, you don't have to defend yourself to me. What you have to ask yourself is why your first reaction was to try and defend yourself. What are you actually guilty of? And see, people don't expect me to act like that to them. They expect me to get upset. And I'm like, nah. Go deal with yourself. I never said that you're bad. I never said you're bad. But also, maybe history wouldn't be what it was if y'all didn't do what y'all did. I just don't know what to tell you. But also, present day, it's not about you being a bad person, right? It's all right. Recognizing how your whiteness shows up in a problematic way, white women especially, right? And then choosing to sit with that and then say, all right, in what ways do I need to be aware of my biases? Do I need to be aware of the internalized racism that I have, I don't even know that I have? And what are ways that I can learn how to dive into that more? That's the kind of stuff that I do with people, right?
Yeah.
And a thing that I do too is I start talks by telling people this is not to make anyone feel bad or guilty. There will be things that you don't feel comfortable about, or maybe you'll feel a little discomfort while we're talking. But my intention is not to make anyone feel a certain way. This is all about learning. This is what this is for. But also, I'm not going to coddle your feelings. I don't coddle people. I'm not coddling your feelings. I'm going to be mindful, but I'm not going to sit here and do you're a guilty white person. Nah, you're 50 years old. You have lived this way your whole life, and it's not my job to sit here and take on that labor for you. I'm not doing that. I'm not, right? So that's just one example. It was worse than that kind of in person, but I don't know what to tell y'all. Yeah.
And it's funny because, you know, not saying that the person is a Karen per se, but there is some Karen characteristics behind it. And it's funny to me, like being like one of the few like black people in the room when we have these conversations, because it's like because you know how we are as people. We made that eye contact with them, like, okay, watch us say some dumb shit real quick, and then she says that you made eye contact again, and you like, and then it's I don't know. For me, I actually get a joy out of it sometimes because it's really funny to see them like really like be defensive and rile themselves up. And it's just like, and then you get the ones who's like, oh, I would never be that person. Like, no, that is so terrible. You know how it goes. But also, is funny. That is funny. And then you always get them awkward questions like, what can I do to better support? I'm like, my job is not to be your black person plug. Educate yourself. Do some reading.
It's
do
not.
some
Right. I mean, truly, yeah. So
that is funny. That is a great segue in. But also, I'm gonna take a break from that because we will come back to that in a little bit. So normally for this section right here, but I think if I get shot on this part, I noticed that you have a very interesting message on your shirt. What is the message on your shirt?
My shirt says "Free Palestine."
Okay. I didn't want to assume, but I know it was very. I was like, goodness, but of course, Free Palestine. I was the other day, I was on social media the other day, and like I know that people have been putting like the watermelons on it. So I was like, what does this mean? Like, what does a watermelon mean? Because me personally, the person I am, I'm going to ask a question. I mean, I think it was a bad question. Also, you know, there's no such thing as a bad question, but you know, I was just honestly just curious.
Yeah.
So whenever I found the meaning behind it, and I was like, oh, okay. And honestly, the person I am, and I said, no, I'm not gonna apologize for it. So normally, no, that sounds. No, I'm gonna say it because it's not what I mean by it. And if people find offensive to it, I apologize. So of course, as a heterosexual black male, I don't say I prioritize other people's rights. However, there are some rights that I do I overly value. So one thing I put at the top of my rights for sure is the rights of just African Americans in general or black folk. Not saying that I put LGBTQ rights down at all because I do identify as an ally for sure. And even also the Palestinian thing. And of course, people have different causes and everything, but that's a cause right there that I'm really all about. Like the Palestinian clause, like that cause right there. Because again, normally I'm a big person of let's take care of her home first and then take care of everyone else. But that right there, it just riles me up, like the Palestinian conflict. And I think I'm not trying to combat the white Christians or the radical Christians, and which is also in a way kind of hypocritical, but that's another conversation for another day, or maybe let's prolong it. But I think I know since I asked a watermelon question, I know this has been more on my radar. I see it more often now, and of course it's still ongoing. So, and then even in this world of many crazy conflicts and how we live in America, where America is now like a reality TV show with everything now, which we're gonna go into later on, because I do want to pick your brain about certain things.
No, but yeah.
But okay, so let me move on to that next question.
It's
Go ahead.
Yes, please, yes. No. I was just going to say, I mean, the whole Palestine thing, that's what people say. It's like, oh, the whole Palestine thing. It's like, well, there's a book by Angela Davis. It's called Freedom is a Constant Struggle. And I'm looking at it on my shelf. I would reach for it. I don't want to get up right now. But it's a book of interviews and things like speeches that she's done since 2014, I think. And there's one in there. It's the second one that is in this book, and it's about Ferguson, what was happening in Ferguson, Missouri, back in 2014. And she ties it directly to Palestine, and that and people don't understand that we as a people, black people, us, we actually have a very long history of global solidarity. You cannot show me anything in our history, okay? And this goes back to slavery. This goes back to the Haitian Revolution.
Yeah.
You cannot show me anything in our history where there's been a big movement where we did not tie it in with another country, okay? I mean, people look at the Panthers, right? Like the Black Panther Party. And I'm like, y'all understand that they actually had conferences and things globally with other countries because they understood what they were going through. So it's like Palestine, people are like, well, that's a Palestine thing. It's like, not whenever you read this stuff and you realize and you understand that, for example, people who were in Israel, right, the cops, they have actually helped in training some of our police force here in the United States. Like, you can't, there is not tearing it apart, right? So I'll just say that about it. And also just, it's about human rights, right? I mean, we are able to look on our phones and look and see what's happening. And I understand that we have our own shit here. And I get it with us dying and us being killed by absolutely, absolutely. Yes. And also, right, it's okay to look at another country as well and say, wow, okay, so what's happening to them, we're actually helping fund that. We're helping fund the genocide. The same way that our taxes right now are helping fund our own Black deaths here in our country whenever it comes to tax dollars and where they go and where the budgets go for cops and sheriffs and state troopers and the entire state sanctioned violence that this country allows to happen. And I'll put a period there.
A period there. It's funny because I think as the conversation goes on, because I know I have two things I'm drinking out of. So I have, of course, my little bottle of water. But I realized that when I hear you like going into it more, I pull up my teacup and I'm like, oh, let me get some of this tea because the tea is starting to brew. So it's a little. You're going in. You're definitely going in. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little break from that. Take a little break from that climate real quick. Now, granted, we're gonna spend a block on that again. But once I like to do like a little put me on section, which is normally followed by starts with a mood check, and then probably a little something extra into it. But today, with 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest, how are you feeling today?
I'm at a 4.
Okay. You sure? For the you were something, you was like, I think I'm at a 4. But yeah. Okay.
I was like, I'm at like a 4.5. No, I'm at a 4. I'm at a 4.
Okay. Yeah. I know. Earlier we were talking on the phone. I mentioned your Facebook post, and we had a brief introduction to the conversation. But of course, I mean, like I told you, it was in a way for me, it was like a light bulb moment, an aha moment. So I just wanted you to, I mean, if you feel comfortable sharing some of the insight you have learned about since the conversation you had originally to now, like, if you kind of share, because you never know what people are going through, and you are, you have a strong voice, of course, so it's always good to tie it into, other people's struggles and affairs and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, so the post was about friendships. And what I essentially said, I'm going to pull it up because I'm like, what all did I say? But what I essentially said was how one thing that I'm happy about is, and like one of the best things I've done for like myself is just learning the difference between transactional friendships and reciprocal friendships and friends versus acquaintances. And then also learning like, I just don't like this person and that's okay. Or I don't like this behavior from this person and I don't have to like it. Right. And so that's something I've been working on a lot in therapy. This summer makes 4 years that I've been in therapy. And it's been life-changing. And so, it's been incredible. And I just don't think that whenever we say certain things sometimes that we actually really mean what we're saying, right? Like what I mean by that is people can say, oh, well, I'm not worried about that thing, or that person isn't really a friend. And it's like, we can say those things. And maybe there are people that are actually fine with it, right? But a lot of us, we just suppress those feelings, right? And so something I've learned is like what it takes to be okay with not seeing people the same anymore also required me to do a lot of work with people pleasing, with just myself. And that's a big thing that has encompassed my entire, I am 36 and I'm just now getting to a place in life, thanks to help in therapy and with God, where I'm like, I don't have to do that to earn love and to earn friendship from people, right? And whenever you grow up a way, right, and these ingrained beliefs are in your subconscious, you don't even know that you're people pleasing. People pleasing is so deep. and you don't even realize what it looks like. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of self-work whenever it comes to unlearning things, because it also means saying no to what your mind wants to say yes to, because your body's used to it, but it's not good for you, right? And so, again, shout out to my therapist, because she really has helped me learn how to rewire my mind with stuff. And it's just like, unlearning certain stuff with people pleasing also is hard, but it also is required if you're going to start looking at people and being like, I actually don't really like this person. I tried to like them. I thought that I should like them, but it's like, who told you that you should? Who told you that you need to? Who told you that? Nobody told you that, but it's the ingrained beliefs in your mind, right? It's actually, for me, for example, a lot of my people pleasing, and I'll be very vulnerable here, a lot of my people pleasing comes from how I grew up in my home with my mother. I have two wonderful parents. They're phenomenal. Yeah. But that does not mean there were not emotional traumas. Yes, I have. Yeah, they are great parents. I love them so much. But there are things that happened as a child that I'm like, that was some emotional trauma, as well as they tried to do. And I've given them grace, though, because they did what they knew to do and the best that they could do. That doesn't mean that I didn't still experience some emotional neglect in ways. This doesn't mean that they were abusing me. That's not it. Emotional neglect is much more than that, right? But that kind of stuff affects, just that stuff affects you into adulthood. It affects your relationship. It affects the partners you like choose. And so, honestly, Vontae, I just got to a place the last year, definitely the last several months, with people where I'm just like, I don't like some of y'all. I really don't. And I don't have to like all y'all's behavior. I don't have to like everything about this person. Or, oh, I don't like how this person talks to me. I don't like how this person wants to belittle me and put me down. I'm not going to laugh at their jokes, because your jokes aren't funny. I'm not going to laugh because everybody else is laughing. What I'm actually going to say to you now is there a reason why you choose to do that to me? Is there, do you feel better about yourself because you say that kind of stuff to me? Right? See, but I couldn't do that a couple years ago. But now I can. And it doesn't mean that you're calling them out. I mean, it is, but it's also standing up for yourself, right? Yeah. It's also, though, realizing just because 51 people like them don't mean I have to like them. I don't. Yeah. But see, then that also means stuff like, all right, well, if they're at some event, I don't want to be at that event, and I'm going to miss out. And then there's a feeling of like, oh, what if I'm missing out on something good? It's like, but am I missing out on something good whenever I'm going to go and not be comfortable? No. Right? Yeah. So it's like, what am I going for? Yeah. So it's just a lot. And I have wonderful, close friends. I love them dearly. I have other people that I consider friends. And then I have a lot of people that are acquaintances, though. A lot of acquaintances. I don't have a lot of friends, because that is a word for me where you have to earn that, right? There's a lot that I've been through the last 4 years. And I'm really sick of the whole thing. There's things that go around social media where people say stuff like, well, I like to have low maintenance friends. We don't have to check in and blah, blah, blah. I don't agree with that every time. The only friend that I have that I consider like a low maintenance friend is my oldest friend. We've been friends since kindergarten. We've been friends for 31 years. And me and him can go 2 weeks without talking. But we basically family. So that's different. But also it's just like, nah, I'm not going to be that friend who's there for you because you need a ride to the airport. But I don't hear from you other than that. Then we're not friends, actually. You don't ever check in. And sure, people can say, oh, well, do you check in too with them? With some people, I actually was. Yeah, but it was never reciprocated. And for me in my life with where I am, I've done a lot of pouring into people over the years. And I did that because I thought that, and not that I don't want to pour. Of course I want to pour. But I was the one pouring and trying to be there and all the things. And I am that for people, but not for everybody. Not anymore. And that doesn't make me a bad person.
Absolutely. And of course, the pouring side of things, but also it's like, what about my flowers? What about my soil? reciprocity again. So that's I know that's a complete bigger thing. And even this conversation right now, it really had me like self-reflecting. Like it had me really like not do a lot of internal thinking about like, who do I consider as friends, and also like what part do I play into my friendships also. Also, I mean, I know that there's sometimes when I'm not the easiest person to be around. You know, I'm not even saying I'm bipolar, because Lord knows I don't think I am. But you know, there's some self-awareness. Like, you know, sometimes I'm a person at this time, or you know, today I'm chill. You know, the emotional intelligence is kind of something I'm more trying to become more self-aware of every day. So, but yeah, I definitely appreciate you in this conversation. When I posted it, I was like, "Ooh, goodness gracious!" Like, this morning, I was like, "Oh, I ain't just good morning yet," and I'm like, "God, let me tell Lady that this is a good letter. This is a good." Not the other day, but I'm gonna let her know. I'm watching. That is everything.
Well, that and like also we aren't perfect people, right? None of us are perfect. I'm gonna do things that people do not like. I understand that, right? I can just operate from my vantage point and also doing the work with myself to not betray myself, to honor myself. And yeah, it's just, and not everything is black and white. And I understand that, right? It's just that there are some people and some things, whether it's a person, whether it's a situation, you might see it as, or you may see the person as a wonderful person, right? And that's fine, and y'all are cool, but there are things that I don't like about them, and that's okay. Now, I will say it's different if like I tell you, and I'll be real here, if like I were to tell you, hey, this person has been abusive towards me, or they have treated me very badly, and I show you proof, or I tell you, and then you still choose to be cool with them and laugh and joke with them, I'm going to look at you differently. Because how are we going to be friends? And I've told you about what someone's done to me and how horrible it was, right? Yet you still choose like, oh, but maybe they're just having a bad day. Nah, I'm pretty sure someone being abusive is not just them having a bad day, right? Like, so it's like, then for me, where I am, I'm gonna look at you a little bit differently, Fonte. I'm gonna be like, all right, well, all right, so doesn't much matter to him, and that's just how that's how I am, right?
Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah, absolutely. And that's funny because I know like maybe I'm not sure it's a guy thing or maybe just kind of to train this way, but I know me personally, I know I'm one of the people like I'm one of the people like I'll do my juicy hands like, hey, you know, like, you know, between me and you, da 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 da. I ain't telling you to teach your friends, however, you know, I'm like, you know, this will happen this way. I mean, this is the person I am. Cause I know that I've done this lots of times. Like, I ain't saying you be cool with somebody or not. You know, that's me. Like, I'm just letting you know, put this person this way. I'm not gonna hold it against you if you hang out with them or not. But deep down, I know that I would. I thought that there's some people who definitely triggered me, and I'm like, you know, like, and also because even the person I am, I like to think I'm more like happy-go-lucky to some capacity. I like to think that I am, but also, but I know, if I know that I'm triggered, and I'm like, yo, bro, I can't rock with this. I know that I am, and I mean, I know we have mutual friends. I have like sharing common. I had this conversation with, and also to be fair, I mean, it kind of show you like, no, I'm really big into loyalty. So whenever like I say something and people are like, what? You know, rock with them because of this? Oh, I don't either. Oh, I love it. Love it. You might rather die.
Yeah.
But but I think I try to put people in a situation where they can they can still make their own bed and lay in it too. But as for me, I'm of this, and I think if it like definitely deepens like triggers me to that capacity, you're gonna know why eventually down the road, or should we both be adult and have a conversation? Sometimes we might be over a certain age, but we still working on how to do more adult things in a more adult fashion.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
my.
Yep.
And I even say that that's the crazy part, but it's a beginning. It's a beginning. Okay, so next section like they do is my put me on section. So one thing about me personally, like, I love music. I love watching good TV shows. I'm trying to slowly get back into reading again because I was doing a lot before the pandemic, and also a hobby or some capacity. So put me on to something. Put me on to somebody you listen to heavy, a good book that you recommend, somebody reading, a hobby, even a documentary, anything. Put me on to something.
Yeah. Okay, so you had mentioned show first. Have you watched Your Honor on Netflix?
So I have it. It's actually on my to watch list. Okay.
It is
So I'm
it's
definitely
like
doing it
very
now.
it's yes, but it's like you gotta be. It's just kind of heavy with like some stuff. It's just yeah. So just be prepared for some things as far as like the storyline goes. Because it just shows the just the corruption with like the like system. But it's an incredible show. So I just finished watching The Shy, the last season of that, because I don't have Showtime
Yeah.
and all that, so I watched it on like Paramount Plus. So I just finished watching that. Great show. Okay, so books. I'm gonna try to reach for this without messing up my headphones.
Go ahead.
Right here.
So, black women, y'all have
This
superpowers.
is
You
so this book right here it's called We Alive Beloved. It's by Frederick Douglass. Frederick Joseph. Frederick Joseph there's another book that I have over there that's also by Frederick Douglass. That's just sitting there, that's why I said that. But anyway, so Frederick Joseph is a very good friend of mine. He's pretty big on like social media. He's written 3 other books. This book is a collection of poems, and he did a book called Patriarchy Blues, which is about like black manhood and things. Fred is a wonderful person. I don't know if you have ever heard of him, but on social media, his handle is at Frederick Joseph. Wonderful person. He actually did, back whenever Black Panther came out, that like movie, he did the biggest campaign for fundraising for something with that for youth in like the country.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, but like Fred is like a humble person. Like you would see him today and not know that he'd be doing stuff, like be giving stuff to people and everything. But this book is a book of poems. It's incredible. Like look at the cover. Like it's just like it's this little black boy. It's black people, like black. Yeah. So anyway, I started reading this book yesterday, actually, because he sent me a copy of it a few months ago, the pre-release copy, and I started reading this yesterday. And what I will say in it is it's very raw, it's very real, it's very can relate to it. Because it's Fred talking about his life and just observances about the country, blackness, just a lot. So that, and then there's another book that I have over there that I can't reach, but it's called Until I Am Free. It's about Fannie Lou Hamer, who was a phenomenal civil rights activist, and it's all about her history and how it connects to our country today whenever it comes to Black people seeing themselves as whole, the struggles that she went to, her faith, or went through, her faith, and then how that connected to her purpose as far as speaking up about rights and civil rights and all that kind of stuff. And then, what else did you say? Music.
Yes.
So music. I have been listening to. I just added some stuff to my workout playlist yesterday as well, to be honest with you. But but I don't listen to a lot of this like new stuff. I just don't. I don't listen to a golden age. Yes, like the golden age of hip hop, sure. And I know that was like the 90s. And then there's like another golden age that was like 2000 to like 2012. And it was a really good time for like music. It was a really great time. But yesterday I was listening to Meg's new album. Because Megan Thee Stallion doesn't get enough flowers. I just don't think. Not truly. She doesn't truly get enough flowers for her beat and all the things. And I just was listening to her album while I was working out yesterday, and it was just getting me through the leg day that I was having. And I was like, yes, Meg comes through. But I will say, so I was listening to that, which you probably listened to that. But there's another, I don't know. Okay, you're going to be like, Lettie, I don't listen to that. But I'm going to tell you anyway. So I listen to a lot of, but I listen to a lot of piano music. I love the piano. I used to play piano. There is a Black man named Alexis French. It's French with 2 F. And his piano music has moved me to tears. And I will be honest with you. It has moved me to tears before. And then, so I will say that about music as far as that goes. But then also, I've been listening to a lot. There's a man named John Vinyl. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I don't think I have.
There's a song called Changing. Yeah, so his name is John Vinyl. There's a song called Changing. And I discovered that the other day, and I put it on my chill playlist. So he's a black guy. If like you were to listen to like the song, you'd be like, you don't sound like it, but it's very, very good. Yeah.
But what does that even mean? Yeah. What does that even mean? Honestly, the other day I was on social media and I had like, so I guess like traditional songs that black people love. I didn't know the half was made by white people. So like one day, like I think like Hollow Notes, and I was like, oh, that's a whole. So I was like, oh, yes. Okay. Now I think maybe I should have known, but okay. So yeah, like at the beginning of the show,
that be sounding like they're not white. Huh?
Absolutely. No, you're fine. But I know I was saying earlier, I know I'm composing a playlist. So with the Megan Thee Stallion of the newer album, what is your go-to song of that album? And then even for the piano, the blank piano French, Mr. French, the what? Say that one more time.
Where them girls at? That's where them girls at.
Where them girls at? Okay.
That's the Megan song.
That's an anthem.
That's that song, and then Alexis French. It is a song. Hold on, I have to pull it up. It's on my piano playlist. It's fine. For Alexis French, there's a song called Kindred Spirit, and it's just piano, but it's called Kindred Spirit. And the moment, Vontae, that I heard that song, I was like, this moved me. Like music be like moving me deeply. Like it really, really does. And people don't know this about me, but instrumental music, it be moving me to like tears because it's just, I feel it in my like nerve endings. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so
I completely get it.
Yeah.
No, I guess I'm gonna do. Let's do this or that. We can do a little bit of this or this or rapid question. Okay. Okay. So this or that. So coffee or tea?
Oh, really? Oh gosh.
Yeah, you gotta pick one. Tea? You gotta pick one. Tea. Okay. Kendrick Lamar or Drake?
Kendrick Lamar.
Okay. I knew that one. I was just trying to. I guess I borrowed you an easy one.
You were just trying to test me. You were trying to test me.
I'm just trying to see where we at. Okay, I was trying to think. There's another question. I had a Martin Luther King or Malcolm X.
Malcolm.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose we can't win everything, so that's okay. I completely get it. Okay, I say it might be a little bit more. This is more rapid question is, but your go-to James Baldwin book?
Oh, James Baldwin book. My go-to would be The Fire Next Time.
You know, I had just saw when I was going to ask you the question, because I was going to have you pick books, but I was like, that's unfair. That's completely unfair. So I had to ask you for your GOAT book. Mountains or beach?
I mean, mountains or beach? Beach.
That's what I meant to ask earlier. I'm going to say, so Port City Java or Starbucks?
Port City Java.
Really? Port City Java? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Starbucks coffee actually tastes burnt and it's actually kind of overpriced. Also, Starbucks are giving money to Israel. So, no.
Okay. Very respectable answers. I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you, honestly. I thought when I had turned 30, I thought I was going to enter to like my coffee phase, but honestly, it's still not there. So it's okay. If I go anywhere, I'll let it give me a little smoothie or refresher, something with mango in it. It's okay. So I know. So briefly, I know we talked about your love for history a little bit, but I think I'm gonna piggyback to an event that me and you had shared before. So I remember back when I was working with communities in schools. I remember for one of our flex days, we had met at the Link building, and we were. I brought a group of the high schoolers with me, and I had you just kind of I had you go in there and talking to them about we talk like Black history, the Black Panthers, and everything because like again how you mentioned like we learn about the same people from history we briefly learn about these sub pockets of Black history in history. So I had a lot of students like, Mr. Howard, why we talk about Malcolm X that often, or why we don't talk about the Black Panthers or Fred Hampton or the greats, the other greats, and also the forgotten names. So I guess I want to pick it off of that. So your love for history. So even when I was younger, when I was thinking about like my career path, I did grow up in one of the Black families. There's like they hate no money in teaching, da 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 da. Because growing up, history was my favorite subject. Honestly, it was my favorite subject. I loved it because it was cause and effect. It was dates and times. It was people. So yeah. So in a way, I kind of like tie into like when people do like fact checking on the sports. So I was like a big sports head. My love for sports, like the analytics and all that stuff behind it. But yeah, let's dive into more for your love of history. Like with that, I know you mentioned it more, but I want to kind of go more in depth with it. And also, like, how do you bring that into the classroom and now also that you teach?
Yeah, so about like the Panthers and everyone, and yeah, all of that. Yeah, people don't teach the truth about that enough. Like, there's how I teach my students at Cape Fear Community College is history is not just dates and times, right?
Yeah.
It has nothing to. Yes, I mean those things are important, sure, but it's also the people, right? It's also looking at history and understanding that the people in history were people just like us, right? I mean, these are not people who were revered in some pedestal because of who they were. Nah, and it's so yeah, like for the Black Panther Party, right? A way that they were often portrayed as this militant, violent Black group. And it's like, okay, well, first let's talk about the word violence. And we got to define that because I'm sorry, but what's actually violent in this country is the system that we live in, right? I don't think that the person who is without a house and can't afford a place to live and has mental health issues and doesn't want to talk to people and will lash out at you if you try to touch them is the violent one inherently. It's actually, okay, well, why are they out here houseless? Remember, we are the richest country in the world, right? So there's actually a conversation about the word violence. And Angela Davis, remember, she was in jail in California State Prison in 1972. She did this interview. And so, she was talked to by this Swedish film director. And she basically said that whenever people ask her about violence, it's just crazy to her because people don't understand what Black people have had to experience in this country since we were stolen and brought over here, right? And so there's a philosophical part to the word violence. So there's that. But then also people in like the Panther Party, yes, you had like Fred Hampton, who is looked at as this person many people think, students of mine think that he was in his 30s. Fred Hampton was 21 years old and he was killed. He was shot in his head in December of 1969 while he was asleep in his bed. He was killed by the FBI and the cops. And so he was 21. Vontae, I was 21 15 years ago. Like, what? And so people don't actually realize it, right? Then people look at Fred Hampton and then they're, oh, well, they just killed him because he was a Panther. Nah, it's because Fred Hampton was able to show white people that were poor, that were in Chicago, Black people who were there, and people who were Puerto Rican who also were there. Hey, we all have the same enemy. It's capitalism, right? So we all need to work together and we all need to work to dismantle the system. Like, we've got to work together. And the government saw that as a threat because God forbid you do anything that bans different races of people together. They want you to go. The government wants you to go. That's what history shows us, right? So I teach my students that stuff too. I also, though, show them pictures of people who were popular people in history just doing regular things, right? Like Dr. King just playing baseball with his son. Dr. King just hanging out in his living room, doing normal shit. Like, these people were not people who didn't just have lives, right? And so we got to see people like that. But I also show it on the other end, right? How happy, for example, people were to be as racist as they were, right? How happy this government was to watch people suffer, how it's still happy to watch people suffer, right? And so, and not just the government, people, right? And
Yeah.
so whenever I teach history, what I also do is I teach it so they can see the connections from the past to the present, and how there was a blueprint before, or like we now have a blueprint of what worked and what didn't work, right? And we also have that blueprint to show what people have been saying for
Yeah.
decades and decades, and how now we have the ability to do even more. It's just you have to have the knowledge. You have to have the knowledge first. You can't go out here screaming and yelling and not knowing the roots of the stuff, right? And so, yeah, I mean, even like why I choose Malcolm over Martin. Do I like? I mean, because I had to choose one during that like fire question part. But
Yeah,
whenever
absolutely.
people talk to me about Malcolm, I'm like, are we talking about Malcolm pre-Mecca or Malcolm post-Mecca? Because when Malcolm went
Yeah.
to Africa, he had a whole thing happen, right? So I'm like, there's a lot more to people, right? And it's not that I dislike Dr. King. No, I think Dr. King was one
Yeah.
of the most important people in the history of the world. It's also I look at people like Malcolm, like him and Martin actually had a lot more in common than people think. And
Yeah.
Martin, after Malcolm was murdered, Martin was kind of going a little more militant. That's why the government had to take him out, right? So it's just, there's a lot that I try to show my students where there's gaps, and you got to know how to find the sources, the primary sources, know how to look at the history. It's not just researching and reading. Anybody can go and do that. But you got to know, as a historian, what I do, I'm not just a history lover. I know how there is a craft to what I do. There is a methodology to what I do. There's a way that I think. There's a way that I can look beyond the beyond, right? And so I want my students to also see that. Like this summer, I taught 2 classes virtually. They were both American History 2. And teaching a class virtually, there's no face to face. It's just all assignments you post, videos you post, and things like that.
Yeah.
And I am so intentional. I take so much time to craft what I put on the different modules for them for each week, like what they're going to watch and what they're going to read. And I would post things like when we were learning about, where I was teaching them about World War II. I didn't talk about the war and the countries. I mean, yes, that's in their book. But what I also wanted them to learn was stuff like how the GI Bill wasn't given to Black people like it was to white people, right? And I also share things with them where it's like, I had an uncle that went to Vietnam. I had an uncle that went to Vietnam that did not get the GI benefits that he could have gotten because he was Black. And I also, though, show my students that just because something is written does not mean it will be carried out that way. And that's one of the most important things I want them to know and to understand. And to question things, right? And to know and understand that this government works for us. We don't work for it. And so I want to show them the things too, because a lot of my students that week were like responding in their history journals, and they were saying like, wow, I did not know that Black people didn't get what like my great grandfather got. And these are white students that are sharing and saying, wow, I didn't know that. Like, and so what I also tell people a lot is whenever you can make it personal, whenever you can show people something and take and like let them know, I'm not saying that you're a bad person, but I want you to see, for example, how generational wealth was acquired and how it was thwarted for some people. This isn't us making it up, right? Like this is stuff where like, hey, here's a video, for example, of President Ronald Reagan saying what he said about welfare queens. Here's a video. And I showed my students, I have a lot of stuff that I've gotten from different sources. Here's a video of a man who was in politics, who was huge, saying in the 80s, he said it. He said, we knew that drugs were not in the Black community, but we had to put them there. Because he said it, right? Like he said this. And so whenever my students heard that, students are like, what? And I'm like, yes, because that's not just in a book. You're hearing it and you're seeing it, right? So now imagine how that affected people's lives. And so that is what I like to do with history, as I also want to show the like unsung heroes, the people whose names we don't know, right? I have tons of books with interviews with people who were just random people, but they also were effective, right? And so that's a way of saying, I just want people, I want my students, I want everyone to see that a lot of what we're saying today has been said. It's been said. It's why I love James Baldwin. It's why I love Toni Morrison. It's why I love Alice Walker. It's why I love Zora Neale Hurston, Langston Hughes. I love so many people in history because they have posthumously mentored me. People that are dead and gone have helped me learn how to read history, how to think about history, and how to interrogate it. Not because they were historians, but because they were Black and because they were living it, right? And I also just have two parents. My parents, my mom will be 73 years old next month. My dad is 79. My dad cropped tobacco for the leader of the Klan back home till he was 18 years old. The leader of the KKK, Vontae.
Yeah.
My dad, that you also know.
Yeah.
Right? He cropped tobacco, but people don't see, like, I've told students that, and they're like, what? Or I'll tell them that whenever my dad was 10, Emmett Till was murdered. Whenever my dad was 18, he still could not legally vote. It was 1963.
Yeah.
We didn't get a Voting Rights Act till 1965, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so it's also to show them it's not a long time ago, but I also do things where I instill hope in them, because we have these things right here, our phones, that can be so discouraging to people, and we have access to so much, so we see a lot more now, right? And I'm like, yes, but understand that there are people who came before us who were saying, I've had books where they've said it. They said, maybe there will be a day whenever people do have access to more, and they can see what's happening, and they'll be able to do more. And I also really want my students and just people in general to know it's not about doing something huge that's going to get all the attention of everyone. Oh, look at this big thing that, like, this person didn't know. It starts with the small things. Grassroots organizations have always been the foundation to the bigger movements, right? Even having conversations like this, I hope there's someone that's going to watch this and be inspired by what I'm saying to go and do something. It doesn't matter if you do it for one or two people, or you move one or two people, or you impact 5 or 6 people. That's 5 or 6 more people. And if those 5 and 6 people, they go and they want to do more, that's going to quadruple the big effect, right? And so that's what I try to do.
I definitely say you can do. I definitely can attest you do it well. Once again, I remember when I brought up the class when I brought my feet that one time off of Princess Street. Like I remember for flex and I think sometimes like school we use for whatever periods, like little math tutoring, time to do homework, whatever. But one of the students, so I think I had like a few interactions with, and he was like, Miss Howard, he's like, I thank you for letting me come with you today, because he's like, I learned so much today about the Black Panthers, and we briefly talked about like Medgar Evers and all these other great names that people don't hear about at all.
Yeah.
You know, I ain't like, I don't know, funny enough, like, like, I ain't put, technically we can have a favorite civil rights hero. So mine is definitely Medgar Evers. So, I think, so that's one, he's one of my favorites. Like, I trust me, there's not too much I don't know about him. Like, from Mississippi, because my grandparents are from Mississippi. So my family, we Mississippi and Chicago. And so I think when I was younger, I was watching the episode.
I did not know that, Vontae.
Yeah. We just, you know how it goes, the Great Migration. So it's always dope. And I think when I was younger, I was watching the episode of like Good Times, and I remember like Michael was like, "How y'all looking for somebody here to make Evers kill us out here?" And that moment right there, I was like, "White boy, who's Medgar Evers?" So I watched it with my aunt. I think I was watching with my aunt, and I asked my aunt like, "Who was that?" So we had to have a whole pause for the cause, pause the TV show. And so she gave me like a little brief history, but she made me do my own research. But yeah, Medgar Evers, he's one of my OGs. Like, I love Medgar Evers. Like, oh yeah, I'm quick to put in a Medgar Evers quote somewhere. Like, especially working in education, like I would just do like my little the little header, whatever, like little motivational quote. Like Medgar Evers is like one of my go-tos for sure. Yeah, respect to the OGs, definitely. So I guess I know you. That. Oh yeah, see, look, we learn something new every day, and as you know. on PMOTV. We do this all the time. But no, but I think I like the way how you phrase that about like the importance of reviewing history, because history does repeat itself often, and how you were like after people are all gone, that the message is still there, the cause is still there. I think my next question is, in the beautiful city of Wilmington, with its own traditional way of history and decision making and city affairs and all that, what is the biggest thing you want some of your students to actually apply as it comes to local politics and also the upcoming election locally and at the national level?
So the biggest thing is I want everyone to understand the importance of voting locally. We can vote all day for the president of the United States, sure. But local government, that then determines state government, and state government determines Congress. Congress actually has more power than the president has. And I mean, locally, for example, we currently have a school board that is Republican. That is primarily Republican. And this happened in 2022. No, 2020. No, yeah, it happened in 2022. Yeah, we got a Republican school, and people then were like, "How did this happen?" Okay, I'll tell you how it happened. There's always been something called white backlash throughout history. It is and not just with white Republicans, white Democrats too, but we're talking about white Republicans currently. Mm-hmm. And just for history's sake, I want people to understand, prior to about 1965, Republicans and Democrats were switched. Mm-hmm. Whenever people say things like Lincoln was a Republican, Abraham Lincoln was Republican president. Yeah, I cannot say that. I'm like, yeah, but but Republican then was more in line with Democrat today. Let's not get it twisted, right? Yeah. But I want people to understand stuff like books being banned, right? Banned books, the just certain the whole wanting to dismantle and do away with DEI. That stuff happens first at the local level and then goes to the state levels, right? And that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing I want people to understand. And to also understand that, like, people have always done things to vote against themselves. So, for example, like, that's now currently the buzzword thing for people, especially whenever it comes to, and I'm going to say this, white people who are racist, to use that as a way to be racist without saying the N-word. I'm going to be real. Yeah. And I look at these people, Vontae, and I'm saying to myself, y'all do know, and I'm like, y'all do know that DEI is not just about race, right? DEI is about gender. It's about having your student or your child who needs more access to learn because they have some sort of, or they just need extra help learning. DEI is for them. DEI is for students who need more physical accessibility because that's inclusivity, right? DEI is not just about Black people getting jobs. If that was the case, if that was, we all would have all the jobs, right? It's similar to what they're so what they're doing with this is what they've done, right? And it's like what they're doing with DEI is what they try to do with affirmative action. Right? Yeah. They've tried to always say, oh, well, affirmative action was just for Black people. Actually, no. Affirmative action was started for white women. It was started for white women, not for Black people. That's not the case. Right? So shut up, people. But I just need people to understand, like, y'all got your facts wrong. Like, you're literally wrong. Like, you're actually wrong. This is not my opinion. And I rarely, which you know this about me, this is not my opinion. I do not just say things without backing them up, without backing them up, right? I would not be the historian that I am if I did that. But people, so basically local government, is very important. Also, another thing though about Wilmington's history is that Wilmington history is not just about what happened on November 10th, 1898. It is about that. Absolutely. That was the only successful coup that happened in our country's history. And it was a horrific race massacre. Yes, all of that is important to know, 1,000%. What happened before is important to know. What happened afterwards, yes. But there are decades between 1898, for example, and 1968. Okay, so there's 70 years. And Black people in Wilmington were still living here. And you started to see the emergence of a Black middle class around like the 1930s and 1940s. And that goes into research I've done around the Green Book.
Yeah.
Now, something else that I want to say is the Wilmington 10. What happened with the Wilmington 10 is extremely important. It was an international case. And I don't think many people here even know that about the Wilmington 10. That case got picked up by Amnesty International. Amnesty International was huge. They're the same ones that picked up Emmett Till's case. That's how that was known internationally. What was happening during the Wilmington 10 trial, what happened here and how they were wrongfully convicted, they were lied on. What happened with them was it got the attention of civil rights activists, Black Power movement people like throughout the country. Angela Davis was friends with Ben Chavis. James Baldwin wrote a letter to President Carter in the 70s. It was published in the New York Times. James Baldwin has a letter to President Carter where he was talking about the Wilmington 10. It was huge. And I don't think people realize how big it was, right? And so I don't want people to just get stuck on 1898 here. Yes, that was important, 1,000%. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to offend anyone watching this because clearly people know how I feel about it. But also we need to look at how and why that happened and also how that connects to what happened in 1972 with the Wilmington 10 conviction. But also we have to look at things like desegregation here and how, for example, Williston High School, that not being the high school anymore, how that took jobs away from Black people. That took jobs away from
Black people
took futures away.
Yeah,
and it took the futures away of Black students, for example, who could have gone on to big colleges because they had scholarships or because they were being recruited for sports because that was huge then. Then they go to these white schools and they can't play and they're not put out there. And so then they miss out. And also what that did to the psyches of people. I don't think people also think about that, right? People don't think about the inner workings of people, the interpersonal relationships, right? They don't think about the fact that the school board at the time was fine with what was happening, that the Klan was running rampant, that it wasn't just the Klan doing stuff then. It was also just regular white people out here, like it always has been, doing stuff too. And so I want people to understand that Wilmington's history, being a port city, Wilmington was in the news nationally a lot. I mean, in newspapers across the country, and not for the best reasons, right? And so, yeah, I will say that. Yeah. Period.
Ooh.
I'm turning on my lamp because it's getting dark.
No, you're fine.
Speaking of Baldwin, here's my James Baldwin picture right here.
Oh yeah, we also saw your kitty cat come by out of nowhere too when you were starting to rattle up.
Yes,
it's like I need a guest appearance also.
That is. Yes, she is right here. She's probably going to try to run from me. Hold on. This is Fanny.
Okay.
Say hi, hey, Fanny. Okay. She's over it. She's over it. She's over it. She's over it. She's over me. She's over it.
She's like, I need some attention shortly.
She is the best cat on the planet. Yes. Yeah. And she's also like, it's getting dark outside. Where's my food?
Yeah. But no, I think that's very important for sure. I know, and also I know as I talk to like some of my former high schoolers still, and also as they transition into like to college now, I do tell them the importance, like, you know, it's not just so much of the president, but also like your local politics. the importance of absentee ballots and everything, like all those little things like that. So I think again, as we tie into more of the city affair things, what would you tell someone who's kind of like, I'm gonna say on the fence about who to vote for or whatever, but like what would you recommend if that's appropriate to say or ask?
About like for the president?
Whether president, local offices, etc.
Yeah.
Because
what I would tell people, the biggest thing to think about.
I was about to say, my bad.
I would tell people the biggest thing to think about is.
You good? Keep going.
What? Oh, I would say that the biggest thing I would tell someone is to not think about just your current situation now. You have to think about the future, because yes, think about your current thing now, sure, of course, but also think about the future. Like, I completely understand, and I personally wish that we had more than a two-party system. Okay, but sure, there is third party. You can vote third party for like the president, but I'm gonna be real with y'all. I've studied politics. I studied history. Third party is a way to express your independence. I won't tell anybody how to vote. What I will say is you got to understand what is at stake. And right now, for this upcoming election that is in November, if the previous occupant of the White House, Trump, if he gets elected again, he will be able to appoint more Supreme Court justices. We do not have term limits right now on Supreme Court justices. They will be there. The reason why Roe versus Wade got overturned is because of the Supreme Court justices that he was able to appoint. Now, did Roe v. Wade get overturned under Biden's presidency? Absolutely. But look who was on the Supreme Court. Trump appointed 3 Supreme Court justices. It's going to do more. That does harm. That does more harm, because look at what Roe v. Wade has allowed now to happen in other states. Look what people are experiencing when it comes to their bodies. And it's not just about abortion. It's about right to privacy. That's what the 14th Amendment is actually about. People don't want to look at that. It's not just about abortion, right? So there's that. I also would tell people, I understand that there are a lot of things our country is doing right now that we do not agree with when it comes to things like funding a genocide and what not. I understand. I am clearly, my whole shirt, I'm like, free Palestine. I hate that we have been giving money to the Israel government. I understand that. I also need people to understand how government works and how deeply intertwined everything is with how we are and where we are today. And if it comes to there are things that every single president, including Obama, has done that are shameful. If we had social media in 2008 to 2012, how we have it now, people would be looking at Obama differently too, because of some things that he put the yes to, that he said yes to do. But again, this is something that we've all, that is seen throughout our history, regardless of what president or what party that president's with. So what I will tell people is, you have to have hope. If you don't have hope, you're going to easily be discouraged every single day. And it doesn't mean that stuff is going to be perfect. It doesn't mean that at all. But you have to understand that voting for someone like Kamala Harris, and now her VP is Tim Walz. That's a great duo. I get it that Kamala has some stuff that she's done that's like side eye. Of course she does. We ain't perfect people. Of course, right? Yeah. Of course. And I need people to know and understand, though, like, we have to do something to have something better. We got to get someone in there that wants to listen to more than what they have. And also, we're not going to have instant results. I'm sorry, y'all. That's just not how it works. That's not how it's going to work. Things are going to take time and persistent energy, consistent and persistent energy. We can't do something one time and expect the change to happen. That's not how anything has ever worked in the history of our country. It's not how it works. And we have so much more against us now, right? We all have jobs where we have to go to work because we can't be homeless and so it's like, we don't have the energy and the mental capacity to do all the things. And so I understand that we're tired. I understand that it's easy to lose hope and it's easy to be discouraged. Trust, I get very upset because I've read the history. I have my shelves of books right now is like, I have so many books. I have so many that I've like read, and that I've done so much research, and I look at the history and I'm like, why are we still doing the same shit? We're not doing the same shit. See, because what we have is power. We actually have more power than we think. We have the ability. But we also have to choose to understand and know things won't happen instantly. But we also have access to more. We have access to more people's thoughts. We have access to more people's opinions. And people get so caught up with, oh, this person's not talking about it anymore, so I won't talk about it either. Well, this person said this, I'm not going to say anything else about it. No, say the shit. Like, say more, do more, even if it means you are by yourself. Like, there are people out there that are thinking like you. You just might have to be brave enough to do it first. I am in a big social media sphere. I have tons of followers. I know a lot of big name people. I don't agree with all of them on everything. I just don't. And that's okay, because how I am, a lot of what I do is driven by faith. It's driven by God. It's driven by, this is what I see. This is what God has given me to do. And so that means that sometimes you won't be with everybody else. Like, don't lose hope and don't be discouraged. Like, sure, it's okay to feel discouraged. Just don't stay there.
Yeah.
Understand that there are people there. I mean, I have a nephew that's going to be 10 in a couple weeks, and I think about his future, right? Like, I think about my parents and things that they just stuff. And so just don't give up hope. That's what I tell people. There's always going to be something that's not going right. There's always going to be something that we don't agree with. We're not going to like everything. We're not.
No,
We're not. But you gotta understand what the bigger picture is. So
well, that is well said. You hit more than the nails on the coffins for sure. Lettie, oh God, I want to show you a teaching or preaching on that one. Goodness.
I know, I know.
It is funny. We met right up Shirley. It was funny because now, normally I do like the conversations like I think most like 30, 40 minutes with that. I'm like, oh, we been here an hour and a half. I love it. I'm here for it. I'm here for all of it. Yeah, so of course with you now, my next question is for you is so what's next for Miss Lettie Elizabeth? I know you have things going on with teaching at Cape Fear now. I know you have your own personal projects you do on the side. So what's next for Miss Lettie Elizabeth Gore? What's next for you?
Yes. So the semester starts for teaching on August 19th. So
okay,
I'm getting ready for all that. And I'm also going to be doing some more pop-up bookshop events this fall, which I'm very excited about. I have a ton of books, have so many books in a storage unit, air conditioned storage unit, because I have to pay extra for that because they're books. I just got to take care of the books. And so I've been ordering more books and things like that. And I'm going to be organizing those more, but I do want to do some more pop-up events. I want to do at least 3 before the year is over. So those will be coming up. If people are so gracious and want to donate funds for the bookshop expenses, as far as like renting spaces and buying more books to get for people or to like sell to people and that kind of thing, that'd be greatly appreciated. They can donate money to me on Venmo or on Cash App. I think I'm going to do a GoFundMe. And every bit of money that I get for bookshop expenses go straight to the bookshop. I don't use any of that money for, I'm going to go on a trip. No, none of that money is for me. It's literally for my bookshop, so I can have events and have things like, I'm gonna have catered food there, or it'll be an event where both alcoholic and non-alcoholic people to purchase or me to just give while they're looking at books, just stuff like that I really want to do for the community. So funds will help with things like that for me if people want to donate and stuff. So yeah, those are 2 huge things. I'm also going to start working on a book. There are 2 books that I really want to write. One book is a huge, some more academic style book. It is around the Green Book, and it's around my Green Book research I've done and some more things. I won't get into a lot of that right now, but that is like dissertation level, because I've talked to two of my history professor friends, and they're like, this is brilliant. It's a wonderful thesis, and it's gonna be a lot of work. And I'm like, yes, I know. So there's a book like that I want to do, but I also want to do a book where I talk to my parents and I just get their stories and their interviews and compile them into a book and put historical context for things that they talk about, because it's very important to me. And that is more pressing for me right now because my parents are getting older. I might get kind of emotional right now, but yeah, they're getting older. And I don't want to lose those stories. So, clearly I feel like a way about it, but I'm very, very happy about it. And I'm very excited about it. So just, so a lot of what I do everything myself, working, the business stuff, everything. I have a new web site, coming out. My friend, Lynn Jones. I don't know if you know Lynn Jones.
I don't.
But my friend Lynn Jones here in Wilmington. Anyone watching this or listening to this that wants to get a site done, please contact Lynn. Her business is LJ Design Studios. She's incredible. I've known Lynn for years. I mean, I think I've known Lynn since like 2017. Her and her husband Jay are wonderful people. So, and I can also send you this stuff too.
Okay, please,
for you to know. Also, like for sure. So, so I have a new site coming out called learnwithlettie.com, and so I'm very excited about that. A lot of things. I am someone who, I'm going on a trip in the fall, probably in either October or November. With some students from UNCW and another teacher. We're going to go to Washington, D.C. For a 3-day trip. So I'm looking forward to it. We got a grant for that from Cape Fear, which is wonderful.
Awesome.
So I'm excited about that. And I'm really excited to just get back into teaching this semester and being involved on campus and just continuing to do what God has told me to do. God has put a lot on me to do. And I'm having to make some adjustments to be able to do it all. And that's okay. Because I don't do all this for my own gain. Oh, I don't. There's a lot of times I'm like, all right, Lord, all right now. You going to give me the tools to do this? Or like, what are you going to do? Because like, what is happening? But but I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to do the things that God has called me to do. So, yeah.
And we greatly appreciate you too. We love you. I love you being a vessel for calls like this. And also too, if you can, I don't know how that works when it comes to signing up for classes and stuff, but I do have some, me and some of my networks, so we still have students who are going to Cape Fear. So if I can suggest a class to push them into, like y'all should learn about this and this, please send me that information too. I'll definitely pass that along. Especially for the Wilmington folk.
Oh, I will be texting you. Yes, I will text you. Yes, because I want students to sign up for my classes. Yes.
Yeah, send me all of that. All of that. For sure. I want those pieces. Send me all of that. But yeah, and again, of course, I think you mentioned briefly how we can support you. But also, lastly, can you just tell the good people again, like where to get up with you, how to connect with you? All that.
Yes. On Instagram, my public page is @sincere.lettie. So you can follow me. Again, my website that's coming is called learnwithlettie.com. And I'm going to start a mailing list and all of that with that. My podcast. So I did a podcast for years. I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to bring it back this like fall for sure. Yeah. It's called History Shows Us. So History Shows Us is my podcast, and on Instagram is History Shows Us Podcast. That's like the handle. So people can follow me there. And so once I get my website up and get my mailing list going, people will have more access to things I'm doing and whatnot. Oh, also, have different tiers where people can sign up for different things that I offer. And one of the biggest things is my book club. So my book club, we read one book over a 2-month period because they're usually more academic style books. And not everyone can read those in a month. So we read books like that. I provide like a lot more context. We have a monthly Zoom call. So yeah, so people go to patreon.com/Lettie Gore. They will see the different tiers that I offer and things that they can get. So yeah, there's that. Yeah.
Alrighty, yeah. Again, I know we signed early. I know normally I try to keep like a good 30 to 40 minutes, but this has been a really good episode. I loved it. I want to thank you for being a guest today.
Okay.
Keep on doing the great things that you're doing. You know, I'm always in your corner. So thank you for being a guest for PMOTV, and thank you for allowing me to put the community onto Ms. Lettie Elizabeth. Greatly appreciate you.
Yes, thank you, Vontae, for starting this. Also, we just say that because starting something like this is not easy. And it takes a lot of work, and I understand the work that goes into it. So I appreciate you for taking that leap of faith and doing this and for asking me to be a part of it. And I'm just grateful for you because, and I know that we were talking about like friends before, and I know that we don't talk as often, but you are someone that I consider a friend, and I'm grateful for that. Because I know that if I ever wanted to just talk about something, I could like text you and you would be there. And you're someone who is always your full self, and you're gonna always be someone who's like honest, and you'll be like, all right, I don't really agree with you with that, but here's how I think, but we can do that. And I just appreciate that in you, like truly. And as a Black man, or one of the few Black men that I know that has really done the work with like yourself to just to unlearn some things. So there's some conversations we've had where I'm like, I don't know about that, but like you really do try to learn and listen and not be problematic out here. And I don't know if people have told you that, but it just means a lot to me as a Black woman. So thank you for being here too.
No, I appreciate it. That always had me teary eyed for a little bit. You know how the journey is. You know,
but I mean it though. No, but I mean it. Like I don't just say stuff to say it. You should know that about me. I don't just say stuff.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
very true.
That. So yeah.
Oh wow. Well, that's a good way to end this episode. But thank y'all for tuning in. There's more to come. Thank you.